Hello, welcome. My name is Diana Loderhose. I'm the International Features Editor here at Deadline. We are in our Red Sea studio again, and I'm here with director Baz Luhrmann.
Hey, Diana.
Hey, thanks for joining us today.
So I don't want it, but I am, some people call me Mr. President. I am the president of the jury.
Is that how I should address you for the rest
You
of
may,
the...
you may. I think we're in it's a casual conversation.
Yes.
You don't have to.
Yes, Mr.
call me-
President. Now, but are people really calling you that here because you're president of the jury?
No, they don't.
So you are here in this kind of big role,
Yeah.
heading up the jury. How's it going? Firstly, have you been before?
You know, when this came up, I very quietly came into the country maybe about 6 months ago. I wanted to spend my own time. I wanted to authenticate what I heard was happening. Mm-hmm. You hear about change in Saudi. Mm-hmm. You hear about this environment we're in, which is which is liberalizing. I was truly astounded. I mean, astounded. Like just the simple fact that 70% of the population are under 35, meeting young, female-led, I have to say, and I think that has something to do with one of the first early directors who was about 15 years ago, Mansouri. She was like directing from in a van, right? And she became such an icon. And so 50% of the directors here are women. And meeting with them and storytellers and just, it was nothing like what I imagined. Yeah. And so I came that time. And now I'm here. And I can't comment on what I've seen, but I can say this. I'm about a quarter in. I start at 1 p.m. in the day, and I see movies till 12. I see 4 a day. And I am truly knocked off my chair at the level of filmmaking, the energy in it, the liberalism in terms of subject matter. I mean, it's just, no one's going to believe. I have to describe people what I've seen, and it's truly inspiring. It's got me kind of energized.
It's great. Would you ever consider, because obviously there's a lot of shooting locations here.
Yeah.
Great tax credit. Would you ever consider
Absolutely,
shooting
I would.
here?
And
let
me tell you something. If you go to Alula, which is just the most extraordinary place, they're building. I've been to the studios down there, and they're almost completed. These really high-tech studios. That's where that amazing concert hall is. It's just like this big mirror.
Yeah.
I think my fascination that did start a little bit with growing up in a small country town, where one of the first films we screened was Lawrence of Arabia. So I was fascinated by the environment. But what I'm drawn to is just energy. And I mean, this is a young population who are claiming their future. And, the leaps and bounds, it's such a crazy thing. Such a crazy thing that for 30 years you couldn't go to the movies here. 5 years ago, you go to see a movie, and now cinemas this is one of the few territories in the world where more people are going to the movies, where the actual ticket sales are exploding.
I was looking up a box office number I can't remember the film now, but I was kind of looking up numbers on sort of, our guys and like Box Office Mojo and things like that. And it used to be years ago when I covered box office, Saudi Arabia was never in the top 3-5 for ticket sales.
Never existed. Crazy.
Because it didn't exist, of course.
Yeah.
But now it's up there.
Yeah,
it's pulling in big numbers.
I mean, I kind of say to people, look, and go and do your homework. Like a lot of folk like to, we know Los Angeles. Like to sit back in Los Angeles and go like, well, I can probably point to the San Vicente bungalows, but I'm not really sure where Peshawar is. But when you see what's coming out of those territories, like, I think do your homework, like, until you actually see it. And I understand how hard it is, because it's kind of unbelievable. I mean, like, just whatever information, what do you know about Saudi? If it's 3 weeks old, it's probably out of date.
Yeah, it's moving very quickly.
Warp speed.
So you've also just come off the back of Faraway Downs, which is so interesting because it's a 6-part series for Hulu. But you've used all the old footage from your 2008 film Australia.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
I did it as an experiment. It's gone very well, by the way, it in terms of like viewership. But I just was looking, what is the relationship between like a cinematic experience, and can there be a relationship like a musician? It's all right for a musician to do a song and do a variation on that song. and make almost a different work but from the same material. So I did that with Faraway Downs. I mean, it has different plot points, but I shot 2.1 million feet of footage, and I realized that there was a way of leaning into the big thematic, which was flipping an old melodrama but telling it from an Indigenous child's point of view about this horrendous scar on our Australian history, which was taking away mixed-race children and locking them up. And it was during the pandemic, and I was able to make a 6-part episodic storytelling. And it has a relationship. I never shot it. Nicole and Hugh came and did new voicings.
Right.
But it is the footage I shot those years ago, but it is significantly different. And what was amazing was working with these young Indigenous pop stars making all this new music. I love that.
What compelled you to go back to the story, though? I mean, was it something, this is something that's
Tom
so
Hanks.
dear to your...
Tom Hanks. I blame Tom Hanks. We were making Elvis. It was the day before I started shooting. And you might remember, I think my AD comes over and says, I think Tom's got that flu thing.
Oh, yeah, he was one of the first, wasn't he?
I mean, that night, CNN, I was locked down in this estate, and on the TV was, Tom Hanks has it. And everyone went like, oh, it must be real. You know, if we all remember. And the film went away, Elvis was over. And I went, what am I going to do? And I started to think, gee, now streaming is here. It really suits Epic. And I shot an Epic, but I had to, back then, as you know, we were living in that old system where you had a weekend, you spent, $50, $60 million, $100 million selling it, and you were dead or alive in 48 hours. And we were fraught getting that film into America. It didn't do it. It was my only film that's never done well in America. But on the other hand, the weird thing is with Australia is, or the thing I have to take account for, it's still my #1 biggest movie in Europe.
Yeah.
So I have these fans for that movie. So maybe they'll see Faraway Downs and go, why'd you ruin it? I don't know.
So tell me a little bit about what's next. You have The Master and Margarita.
No.
Well, it's out there. That's been announced, but a while ago that was announced.
Well,
so what's happening with that?
I can't deny I've always had a really intense relationship with that book, almost beyond me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a mythical, magical, black magical book.
Yeah.
That's the right phrasing, and it's always had a power over me. But I will tell you this. I had Faraway Downs, which I've just been out communicating. I'm working on some theatre because I have a theatre background. I can't go into that. I have 4 or 5 major works that I'm moving up, and by the end of the year I will go, okay, well, I may produce that one, I may be Uncle Baz on that one, but what I would call my major work, I'm making that commitment by the end of the year. Because I want to you know what, being here at the Red Sea International Festival and seeing all these young filmmakers who are making, like, these films are just like on fire, they're wild. It's actually made me go like, maybe I won't retire. Maybe I should make one more movie. Seriously. They're inspiring me, yeah.
Do you think it's having an effect on what you might choose to, yeah. Okay.
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like, I also look at them and go like, what could I shoot in 6 weeks? I can write myself, oh wow, look at that. Oh, hey, yeah, I get that. Like, yeah, it's having an effect on me.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being here. Such a pleasure
I love
to meet
chatting.
you.